Hi, I'm Lita Leapin.
And I'm Jim Gordon.
And welcome to a new edition of Our City Tonight.
Lita, we got lots to get to today. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to get right to Our City Tonight. This segment is sponsored by the Richmond Sentinel, providing news, entertainment, and human interest stories in print and online. It is one of the most popular sports on the planet, depending on what poll you might look at. It is always second or third behind, of course, soccer, or as the rest of the world calls it, football. I'm talking about the game of cricket. It has billions of fans, which leads us to our next guest. She is an Australian commentator, sports presenter, and TV personality. She's not coming to us from Australia, but she's coming to us from Delhi in India, where she is working on the Delhi Premiership League, domestic league for cricket. It is a great pleasure to welcome for the first time, Grace Hayden. Welcome, Grace, from a far, far, far away.
Hello, how's it going? It's so nice to be here. Yes, from Delhi, very, very far away from you right now, but it is really the heartbeat of cricket, I would say. I couldn't get closer to the core of where it all happens, and that is India. So I'm here for the next 30 days working on the Delhi Premier League, so it's going to be an action-packed schedule. I've got 2 games per day, but then I've also got this great podcast which is coming out.
Yeah, I want to talk. Let's start with the podcast, Game On with Grace. It debuted on Willow, and for people that may not know Willow and are also big fans of cricket, Willow is the premier streaming service in North America for cricket. One of the things I liked about your podcast, Grace, and I listened to the premiere episode with cricket legend Adam Gilchrist, I can really relate to the fact that when I get someone like you or another guest on for the television version of our show, I got limited time. Whereas when you could sit down and talk to somebody in a podcast or online, it allows for a longer conversation, which gives it more of a 2 people having a coffee or a beer, and the conversation can flow for however long you want it to flow. Tell us a bit about what people can expect from your new podcast, as I said, on Willow, called Game On with Grace.
You're so right. I feel podcasts really give you that opportunity to connect. And for me, that first episode with Gilly was such a full circle moment, because obviously Dad for me is Matthew Hayden, and these two played together and they had such a rich history, and I guess I get to see that lens, and I've always got to see that lens behind the dressing room, I would say. So to have that conversation with him as my very first episode felt really surreal and special, and made me feel so lucky to, 1, have that relationship, but 2, to be able to share some untold stories and I guess connect over similarities in our lives that we've shared. Obviously, I spoke in this podcast about how special my mum played as a role in my family growing up. She was really the rock of our entire ocean, I would say, of a family. Dad was away for maybe 11 months of the year, and she really kept us centered. So I guess for me, this podcast is all about bringing you the untold stories of athletes, artists, of just connecting people with who you might see on the screen, on the cricket pitch, on the wherever, really, and just unpack them as a human being. Because I think people forget that outside of the people that they love and adore and admire for what they are so talented at, there's real people behind that. They have real passions. They may love to cook. They may love to be in the great outdoors. Whatever that might be, there's a unique person, and I want to get to know every single part about that and connect with cricket, because it's such a global sport now, and I feel like it's expanding by the second, and it's just got such a large following base. And I just have always adored watching the game. I've had great connection with it, being the daughter of who I am, but obviously now I get to work in the industry now too, yapping away about it in different tournaments. So yeah, such a full circle moment, and I'm super excited to just connect with a bunch of different people, not just from cricket, but from all the sports and just industries that we know and love, and get to know the real people behind what we all see and admire.
Yeah, Grace, you mentioned your father, Matthew Hayden. For our viewers at home, this is like being the daughter of Wayne Gretzky in terms of hockey. Her father, part of that golden era of cricket in the 2000s.
that's what I wanted to talk to you about, because it's full circle for me where you're involved, because we're looking at a photo right now of me interviewing your father back in Brisbane in 2011. You really do bring something different to the game because, as you said, you grew up around this sport. You had a front row seat, which gives you a whole other perspective now as a young adult to be able to talk to people about cricket, many of whom you probably had met many times. So there's more a familiar setting for you and for them.
Totally. Isn't that crazy? I must say that you were interviewing my dad in 2011 and now here we are. Life is just funny sometimes, hey? And I feel that so many occasions, as you just said, that in the cricketing world, I am able to do that because growing up, every stadium around the world, you think of any iconic stadium that's a cricket stadium, that was my playground growing up.
Hey, I gotta ask you, talk about your relationship with Willow TV. As I mentioned off the top, the tops for streaming of cricket in our part of the world, Canada and the US. Talk a bit about your relationship with them.
Well, Todd came to me earlier in the year and he expressed interest in creating this podcast with me, as it's their first exclusive podcast that people can consume on Willow TV, but then obviously across Spotify and whatever you want to watch your podcast on. But it's such an exciting partnership. Obviously, cricket is growing so much in the US and Canada. I mean, I did a World Cup in the US last year, and it was so funny when I rocked up to New York Airport, one of the biggest airports, right, in the US, and this customs guy was like, "Oh, what are you here for?" And I said, "Oh, you know, the cricket." And he goes, "Oh, you know, that World Cup cricket thing." And I'm like, wow, okay, this is really weird. The fact that someone in customs in New York knows what cricket is, it just gave me the impression. The tournament last year as well in Canada called GT20, and it was so much fun. It was actually quite a packed ground as well. Everyone was really into it, and you know, not just the people that you would expect to come along to games. It was just here, there, everywhere. People coming in, watching, curious more so than anything of actually knowing the game in Canada. But yeah, it was a pretty surreal experience, and it's super exciting to do it with Willow TV. I think they're really making waves in the US and Canada market, and yeah, I'm really over the moon. Their first podcast and exclusive platform.
Hey, it's been great to have you. The new podcast is Game On with Grace. Grace, I have no idea what time it is in Delhi right now. It's late morning where we are. But I want to thank you for joining us because we actually have done a lot of Australian segments, so it's great to include you in that category. Grace Hayden, look for the new podcast on Willow TV. It's Game On with Grace. You can find that on that and wherever you find your podcast. Grace, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you in Canada with cricket very soon.
Thanks so much.
This segment was sponsored by the Richmond Sentinel, providing news, entertainment, and human interest stories in print and online.
Well, we hope you're enjoying the show. We just wanted to take a pause and remind you about our partnership with the Richmond Sentinel.
That's right. You can check out our columns twice a month, print and digital, and you can check them out online at richmondsentinel.ca. There's a couple covers right here. Let's get back to the show.
Craig Shaman is an award-winning and Emmy-nominated freelance writer, producer, and director. And he is the president of the Jim Henson Legacy, a nonprofit organization dedicated to preserving and celebrating the work of Jim Henson. His book is Sam and Friends, the story of Jim Henson's first television show. Welcome to Our City Tonight, Craig.
Thank you, Lita. It's great to be with you.
Oh, when I saw the title of this book, it jumped off the screen to me, and I have to ask right off the bat, am I correct to say that most people do not know that there was an actual show that Jim Henson had before Sesame Street?
That's really true. Jim Henson's career to most people started with Sesame Street, even though he had already been working for 15 years.
Oh my gosh. Well, this book is indeed an examination of what you call the unfiltered art of Jim Henson. And this This artwork and the puppets were created long before he had dozens of people working for him. Tell us a little bit about how that went.
Well, I started working at the Henson Company in the late 80s, only a couple of years before Jim Henson passed away. And by that time, he had other people to write the shows and to build the puppets. And he was basically producing, directing, performing. But when you look back at the Sam and Friends era, he and his then girlfriend, soon to be wife, Jane Nebel, later Jane Henson, they did everything, and so Jim was building the sets and writing the scripts and building the puppets. And Jane built some of the puppets too.
Yeah, what was fascinating is that probably, again, reading this book, most people didn't know. Jim was so driven even early on. He was in high school still when he started this show, Sam and Friends. And as you mentioned, his wife, Jane, was very much a part of that. Can you tell us a little bit more for our viewers, Jane's participation in this?
Well, when I first started doing the research, I knew Jane for several years, ever since I started working at the company. And she would always downplay her role in Jim's work. And then I started to do research and she, begrudgingly started to admit things like she built some of the puppets. She would say, well, for every 3 puppets Jim built, I maybe built 1, and she, when I started going through the papers that were in the archives, when they started the company, it was a partnership. Jim had 60% of the stock and she had 40%. And Jane used to describe herself as a helper. And a helper doesn't get 40% of a partnership. She had a very significant role and she always downplayed it.
Yeah, she sounds like a fascinating person. It's so cool that you met her. Now, music played a huge part in Sam and Friends before the characters were actually given voices. Can you share a few of the very, very well-known musical artists that were a part of Sam and Friends?
Yeah, Jim would either use very distinct comedy songs, novelty songs like Stan Freberg or Phil Harris. And he would also use just pop songs of the day, like Rosemary Clooney's I've Grown Accustomed to Your Face. So he would go through the music library because the TV station also had a radio station. So they had a vast record library, and he and Jane would go through it with the record librarian at WRC, and they'd pick the songs. And in the beginning, they would just lip sync to the music. And then over time, Jim got more comfortable doing voices. So he started writing scripts. I actually have another book coming out that compiles some of these early scripts. That'll be out in September.
Fascinating. Well, he was on Ed Sullivan a lot. My co-host Jim pointed that out. He said, I saw the Muppets a lot on Ed Sullivan in the black and white. But also, I remember reading in your book, Jim didn't like that transition. Well, I guess he was a bit resistant from the black and white to the color. I think that caused,
Jane told me that Jim liked working in black and white and shades of gray. And he, everybody was very excited about working in color because this was early television. But Jim liked black and white. So he kind of grumbled a little bit about, having to do everything in color, but it ended up, doing very well. In fact, a lot of surviving clips from the early days are in black and white, even though they were broadcast in color. They didn't have a way of really capturing color broadcasts yet.
The other
so
fascinating...
I have to remind people to think in color.
Yeah, totally. The other fascinating part is Jim didn't set out to become a puppeteer. It all was by accident. Tell us, we're going to end on that little story.
Yeah, he really didn't want to be a puppeteer at all. He didn't think about it. He wanted to work in television. And there was a local station that was looking for a young puppet performer to do a show. And he saw that as his way in. So he got books from the library, taught himself how to build puppets, and just showed up for the audition because, he couldn't care less about puppets. He wanted to work in TV because he thought it was so exciting.
Well, he definitely changed the whole area of puppets. He's known as the main puppet guy in the world, and we're so thankful that he took that chance. Your new book, when is that coming out?
That'll be out September 24th, which is Jim Henson's birthday. And it's called the Sam and Friends script book, the same
Wonderful.
publisher, Bear Manor.
Well, Sam, hey, last question for Craig is your wife was a Muppet character voice.
She still is. And I have to say that we always try to say that they're performers because they do the manipulation as well as the voice. But my wife has been working on Sesame Street for more than 30 years, and she was in the original cast of Avenue Q on Broadway. So she is always a great inspiration and reminder to me of the great artistry of puppetry and performance.
Wonderful. Well, we have to thank Jim Henson from the bottom of our hearts. I grew up as a Muppet viewer. My family around the TV, and Sesame Street was definitely a part of my childhood. So we have Sam and Friends by Craig Shemin. Amazing book for those of you that are, well, I would say everybody interested in the story behind those world famous Muppets from Sesame Street. So we have Sam and Friends. Thanks, Craig. I appreciate it.
Just a reminder to check out the print digital version of Our City Tonight in the latest edition of Iconic Concierge magazine. The high-end, good-looking publication is available now. Look for Iconic Concierge magazine and our latest column. It's available now. Well, it's late summer and I'm not in our city. I'm actually in the Okanagan, somewhere between Soyuz and Oliver. I'm at the spectacular, and I got to tell you, spectacular winery called Phantom Creek Winery. There's a great event taking place here tonight. A lot of great chefs, a lot of great food, a lot of great wines. And the chefs, well, one's from Steveston, the other is from London. Here's a little sample of what we experienced at this great event. I take it this is your first time to this part of Canada.
It is, yes.
What are your thoughts so far?
It's beautiful, so calm,
Yeah.
and peaceful.
It's quiet, isn't it?
Not like London.
Well, speaking of London, your restaurant is well known throughout, of course, England, the UK, and all over the world. It's interesting, you have such a great backstory. One of the things that struck me that I saw recently in an article with our friends at vacay.ca, you talk humbly about growing up and knowing what it means to be hungry, where you say sometimes you would maybe just have a coconut or something, and that would be. How has that affected you, be it consciously or subconsciously, in how you approach food?
So I always say it is a plate of food for me. It's like you putting fuel in a car, because the car will not go if you don't put the fuel, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the same philosophy for me. This is not just cooking to make a business. Money comes the second part.
Right.
Money will come when you come back, and second, third time. So come back to the point is, I wanted to cook from my heart and my soul to feed another human to live another day. But that has to be tasty.
Right.
That has to be cared. That has to be loved. Like when you go to the home, when mama cook or grandma cook, you can't beat that meal.
Right.
Any restaurant in the world. Why? Because it's made with
love.
Exceptional love and care for it could be the bread and butter, but it's make that harmony. You feel it. So for me, it's giving that food. I know the feeling not had any food for 2-3 days sometime.
Wow.
And I am very privileged to able to cook, touch, prepare it and cook and serve it to the guests, these wonderful ingredients, and able to travel some beautiful places. But it has to be, number one, you feeding another human. So ultimate care has to go in. The money come in afterwards. You know, it's for me, restaurant is all about, it's like you come home. We greet the guests saying, welcome to our home. Because restaurant is an extension of your home. And when you invite friends and family, is you clean it and you cook your favorite things, and it doesn't matter someone have a dietary problem, you're gonna make that because you invite your friends and family, right? You want them to have a good time. And what is most important is the company. If the food is tasty, the glass is top up, you think, I want to go back to that place. And that's the whole philosophy in the restaurant. It's a home.
บ้านเราฝ่าย Thai cuisine we locate in Stepton, Richmond. It's far from Vancouver about 30 minutes, and we do Royal Thai cuisine there.
Talk about how you use farm to table at your restaurant.
Yes, first thing that my farm in Thailand is a rice farm. My parents still working on it there, and I grow with that. We grow the rice from the farm. We do organic, right? No chemical anything, and I import. That's what important. And some meat we support local here with the farm like Academy Farm in Langley. We buy the water buffalo from them, and we support Atina Farm in Stepton for microgreen and vegetable everything to our restaurant. Yes.
What do you want them to feel about what you're going to serve them?
Yes, I have menu that have water buffalo and the rice from my farm, and I want them to feel like farm to table here and enjoy the food that we support local and my farm to Thailand and farm to table here. Yes.
Paul Claxton is a longtime Vancouver musician, producer, and songwriter, and he began taking public piano lessons when he was 6 years old on a paper keyboard. Now, there's a story. He was born in Winnipeg, but he has resided in BC for pretty much a really long time. We want to welcome Paul Claxton. How I was introduced to you is one of Vancouver's best jazz pianists. Yeah, so welcome to our city tonight.
Thank you. Well, I've kind of, give the other ones tickets away out of town, so they share up. So, I think also pianists are a vanishing endangered species. In Winnipeg, for example, where I was born, there just aren't piano players anymore. And if you look on Facebook Marketplace, you'll see that on the free page, out of 50, a page of 50, there'll be 43 free pianos.
Wow. Okay, that's sad. So we're glad that you're with us. We're glad that you are still paper piano, paper keyboard.
Okay. It comes in the first book that you get when you're learning, and it's in the back. Take the staple out, doesn't tear. And you start doing your exercise in that. And so people can take piano lessons without a piano, who can't afford one, although they're free now. But that's how I started learning, and I understand like Oscar Peterson started learning the same way on a paper keyboard. So you have to sing the notes to play them. Chords are very difficult, by the way.
Well, I'm laughing because when I took up saxophone when I was a kid, my parents made me go practice way out in the yard. And I'm like, I couldn't understand why. Anyways, enough about that. We're going to jump into some of your early roots was a funk band, Nitro.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about that story.
That was a very interesting time. There was a whole circuit, and usually it all started with bands coming up from the United States to play the club circuits. And in those days, you'd stay in one place for 2 weeks. You'd play 5 sets a night. Usually started around 9:30. You ended up at 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
And that was 6 days a week at 2 weeks at a time. And then you had, Sunday to drive to the next club. Bands from the States came up. They're usually bigger bands in 3-piece suits, which no one wears anymore. But some Canadian bands got into it. Nitro was one of the bands. My longtime friend Olaf de Shield is a big musician in Vancouver and many, many things now. And the rhythm section, actually, the original drummer plays with Gabriel Mark Hasselbeck now.
Ah, yes, we have
so we're all still around. We're all still playing music. And because we came over from Transylvania in coffins and we don't die. So.
Yes, we have had your friend Gabe on the show. He's a wonderful musician as well. And it's great keeping the live music alive. Now we're going to jump into, your jazz roots. Like you're saying, pianos are not around as much anymore.
Not so much. I listened to Oscar Peterson on the radio, CBC radio, and Hopefully, you can edit that out if you can't put CBC in there.
That's totally can.
But I became enamored of Oscar Peterson, and but I thought I'll never be able to do that. But turns out I could, and I think I started years ago at a place called the Classical Joint down at Carroll Street, playing some jazz with a band called Ria Bumba, which was Albert St. Albert. I think Albert's gone now, but that was an exciting thing, and you'd rush home to hear you play live on Co-op Radio. They'd rebroadcast that first jazz thing. So that's when I started, but I've always loved it, and find that jazz creates a different mood than you can get in pop, but I still love that as well.
So you play in a lot of different bands, but you have a passion project right now. Tell us about that in the final comments here.
I have a band called Trisector Project, spelled with K's in both words.
Well, we'll put it up on the screen so people can find you.
Yeah, that's great. We just dropped a new album June 1st. And it's all original songs, and I'm the lead vocalist, which is strange. I didn't even tell Gabriel I sang for 2 years. But I'm very happy with it, and I'd love everyone to check it out. It means a lot to me. My good friend Shale Rinch is a producer over in Bowen Island, many, many artists, and my good friend James Zickmantel. We've been friends for around 35 years, and besides being bandmates, we're best friends as well.
Perfect. So you're supporting local. Check out Trisector
Project.
Trisector Project.
Also on Spotify, there's an island playlist, it's called, which is all Bowen Island artists, and
wonderful.
We're in there too. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, well, I want to thank Paul Claxton, who has been described to me as Vancouver's premier jazz pianist. So I want to thank him for continuing to play the piano and continuing to produce live music for all of us here in Vancouver. Thanks Paul.
Lita. Thanks, Lita.
Closed captioning and other promotional considerations provided by Hamilton High Street Senior Residence, Richmond's newest senior living community. Back here to wrap up the show. Before we leave, as we always like to do, don't forget you can check out past episodes, you can check out individual segments, photos, and...
Oh, you're going to give me something to say. Don't forget to check out our fairly new podcasts on our website.
That's right, longer editions of some of the segments you see on our show. I'm Jim Gordon.
And I'm Lita Lippens.
And if you have been watching Our City Tonight, thanks for watching.
Cheers, Jim.
Oh yeah, cheers. Wine.
You can contact us and watch past episodes at ourcitytonighttv.com. The Richmond Sentinel, providing news, entertainment, and human interest stories in print and online.